Good morning yogis, this is Julie from Totally Holistic Health and welcome to my gentle yin practice for this morning. The main thing with the difference between yin yoga and normal yoga is the fact that we tend to hold the poses for quite some time. Normally it's around about sort of 3 to 5 minutes. And the reason why we do that is because what we're trying to do is, rather than with normal yoga, you're trying to build strength in the body and obviously flexibility as well. With yin, we're trying to work with all the connective tissues, with all the fascia. So we're really trying to elongate all those sort of facets of the body, but also we're working into the connective tissue of the joints as well. So it's a really good one for, particularly if you're very tight, if you're doing lots of running or lots of sports and you're quite tight in things like hamstrings and stuff. It's a really, really good way of helping to release that, whereas normal yoga will probably just build strength in that area. This will give you the flexibility that you actually need. So the main thing with yin is the fact that, apart from the fact we're holding the poses for about 3 to 5 minutes, we're also trying to, you have to put a little bit of stress on the body to allow it to release. So if you're looking in terms of sort of discomfort, say if you're saying 0 is no discomfort and 10 is excruciating agony, you're probably looking around about 5 out of 10. So you need to put a little bit of stress on the body to allow it to release. So what we're trying to achieve is to allow those muscles to have that little bit of stress to let them go. But obviously if you've got too much pain, then obviously you're going to find you're tensing up, so you're actually doing the adverse effect for what we're trying to achieve. So what we're trying to do is find your edge, just breathing into it. And if you do find that your breath is very shallow or you're sort of tightening up, it probably means that you're already pushing into it a little bit too much. So it's very passive as opposed to active like normal yoga would be. So again, just bear that in mind as we're practicing. So first of all, we're going to start off, it's a nice gentle morning practice. We're going to start off in a nice upright position. So, it doesn't matter where you have your feet. You can have cross legs if you want to. You can open them up a little bit, or you can bring them out in front of you. And obviously if you've got something like a wall behind you, you can lean against the wall. So just find yourself in a nice comfortable position. And we're just going to draw ourselves nice and tall. So just make sure that you're equally placed. Both of your bum cheeks are nice and level. We're just going to come into a lovely upright position. So again, use the core a little bit just to draw yourself nice and tall. So just think of a nice long front body, a nice long back body. Just draw the shoulder blades down the back. And then just very slowly we're going to just use the breath and just slowly just sink into the floor. And the main reason we do this at the start of a practice is just allows yourself just to focus on you for a while. So you might find, it just allows you to switch off. It just allows you to leave all those troubles at the door. It just allows you to stay nice and focused on yourself. And very slowly we're going to open our eyes. So we're going to come into our first pose. Now the thing with yin as well, you'll probably find that the names of the actual poses are different from normal hatha yoga, principally because with hatha yoga, if you use hatha yoga names, you would actually probably try to go into that pose, whereas with the yin we're trying to do the same pose but more of a yin style. So we change the name only because it just allows you to sort of think of it as in a different way. So the best thing to do is you need lots of bolsters and blankets and things with yin. So if you have some blankets, just bring them underneath your bottom if you have some. And we're going to just bring the soles of the feet together. Okay. So if you have issues with your hips or your knees, you might just want to roll up a couple of blankets just to put them underneath the upper thighs, just to give them a little bit of support. And with this particular pose, we're just going to allow ourselves to come forward into a forward fold. So I know with most yoga you tend to come in with a sort of a flat back, but with this one we're just going to allow ourselves just to curl down. So what we're trying to do is just really allow the head to become heavy. We're just really sinking into this pose. And also a really good thing to try to get into practice of doing is just turning the palms so they're facing upwards. And what this does is, if you have your palms down, you'll try to force yourself into a particular pose, but if you have your palms up, it becomes a lot more passive. So it just allows you to use the breath. Just use the breath to sink in forward. So again, don't hold any tension in your neck, just allow the head to become really heavy. So as you can see, it's a really strong pose, just to open up the back, spread all the little muscles either side of the spine, releasing. It's also really good for opening up the hips and working into the groin. Use the breath to really sink down. So stay here for about 3 or 4 minutes. So just notice if you are holding any tension anywhere. So just focus maybe on your jaw, your neck, even your shoulders, so the hips. And just judge, if you are holding yourself, if you are over your sort of edge at all. So if you do find your breath is slightly shorter, it just could mean that you're just overdoing it a little bit. So just maybe open up the knees a little bit more, bring the feet slightly further away from you. Let's surprise yourself on how low you can actually come. But again, that's not what we're trying to achieve, but it's amazing how strong the breath is in these sort of practices. We're going to release out to this one. So it's always important to come out of a yin pose really slowly, because it takes you a while to actually get into it. So very slowly, just pushing up with the hands, coming up into a nice upright posture. We're going to just bring the hands behind the back and just bring the feet to about hip width apart, and slowly just move the knees from side to side, just releasing any tension in those hips. So again, just really taking it slowly, enjoying that lovely sensation. Okay, so we're going to come onto our backs now. So as if you do have blankets, it's quite handy to have them available. It's also quite nice just to bring a blanket onto your mat as well, just makes it a little bit more comfortable. So I'm just going to open my blanket out and come onto the floor. So, okay. So again, have these handy with you if you need them. If you've got issues with your neck for the next one, you might just want to pop something underneath your head. If you've got issues with your back, you might just want to pop one of these underneath your bottom as well. So we're going to come into a half happy baby pose. Okay, so this is a really good pose to open up the groin, open up the hip. So we're going to slowly keep the left leg bent. I'm going to just draw the right foot or the right knee into the chest, and if you can, grab hold of either the big toe or the sole of that foot. So what we're trying to do is just very slowly just open up that knee or that hip slowly down towards the floor. So if this is a little bit too strong, the other option is just bringing the knee into the chest and just holding the knee there. And the thing is, if you're holding the pose for a while, what you can do is start off here and then very slowly open up into the happy baby. So whichever position you're actually in, if you're in the happy baby pose, with your left leg, you can either keep it bent, or you might want to start off with it the leg bent, and then either slowly sliding the left leg onto the floor. So again, you've got a lovely hip flexor stretch there, or if you can also, you can keep it bent, but then just allowing it to come into the butterfly, which is allow the knee to drop out. And again, if you do want to, you can bring the blanket underneath that hip just to give it a little bit of support. So again, just when you actually find yourself comfortable, got your edge, you can feel what you need to feel. Just going to slowly just notice the jaw. Again, just find out if you're holding that tension anywhere. Again, it's quite okay just to adjust yourself, just to get yourself comfortable, which is quite normal because you do need to find some form of comfort to a certain extent with everything else. We're just trying to work on this hip really here. So just breathing into those hips, just notice how that feels. And the good thing about, yin poses is they can be quite emotional. A lot of people tend to hold tension in the pelvis area and the hips, and yin tends to work quite a lot with the pelvis and around this hip area. So a lot of people can find it quite emotional, again, which is absolutely fine. It's quite normal. So just be aware that that may happen. Again, with the arm that's holding the foot, if you are holding it up, again, just notice if you are holding the tension in that arm. Just relax it as much as you can. So again, just think more passive rather than active. So we're just really trying to use the weight of the arm and the shoulders to draw that knee down slightly closer to the floor. Again, without forcing it. So very slowly we're going to just bring the left foot up, so we're keeping it bent with the foot on the floor. And now with the right foot, we're just going to bring it on top of the left knee. So we're going to just bring both our knees, drop them out to the left. So you'll find that your right foot will now come very slowly towards the floor. So if you do need to bring a blanket underneath the sole of that right foot, that's absolutely fine. Again, try to make sure that your shoulders are relaxed. So again, we've got a nice stretch here on the IT band. So particularly good is if you're a runner, this tends to be one of the parts of the body that doesn't get stretched quite so much, and it's quite hard to get to sort of catch it. So this is a really good pose to release. And again, just notice how that feels in the lower back. So again, if you do find that there's any tension in the lower back and it hurts, just maybe pop another blanket underneath that foot. You might find slowly that you can very gently just ease the blankets out of the way, so allow the foot to come onto the floor. again, these poses, if you can bring the palms up, again it just allows the chest to open more, and again it does become more passive. Just allows you to really release. And then slowly, just bringing the right foot off that left knee. And then just bringing the left knee back to centre. And again, if you want to do some nice gentle windscreen wipers with those knees, just to release the back, that's absolutely fine. Or you can also bring the knees into the chest if that's what suits you. So again, just moving in a way that feels right. Okay, so we're going to do the second side, so the happy baby. So we're going to bring the right foot up, or the right knee up, grabbing hold of the sole of that left foot. So again, the option you have here, if you want to, is just draw the knee into the chest. And just, again, you're still opening up the hip. And again, with your right leg, it can either be bent, you can stretch it out. So you've got a nice stretch here on the hip flexor. You can keep it bent, but just drop it out to the side. And again, if you do need to pop something underneath the outside of that thigh, that's fine. And the same applies with your half happy baby. So again, just get yourself nice and comfortable. So again, just notice how that feels in the hip. And again, with your right leg, it can be bent. Just allow it to come into the half butterfly. You can straighten it out. Again, just be led by what feels right for you. And again, you can always progress, so just stay here to start off with, and again, if you do feel you want to straighten out the leg after a couple of minutes, again, that's absolutely fine. Use the breath to release. And again, just notice your breath. You find your breathing more shallow, again, you might just be overstretching. So again, just release a little bit more, maybe bring the knee more into the chest. And now slowly we're going to bring your left foot and just bring it onto the right knee. We're going to allow both our knees to drop out to the right. So again, your left foot will be coming closer to the floor. So if you do need to place a blanket or something or a cushion underneath your left foot, that's fine. Just to soften the landing. So again, we've got a nice stretch on the outside of your left leg. So again, just be really mindful of your lower back. And again, just bringing the arms by the side. Again, if palms facing up, it just becomes a little bit more passive, so you're not trying to force that leg down towards the floor. So just using gravity and the breath. I always think sometimes it's just allowing yourself to release sometimes. I know at this particular time, it's a lot of people are very tense and they're holding themselves in a particular way. So sometimes it's nice just to give yourself that permission to release, and everything will be okay. And then slowly just drawing the legs back to centre. Again, you can just very gently windscreen wipe the legs. And draw the knees into the chest. Again, just moving in a way that feels right. Stretching out is quite nice if you want to do that. Nice full body stretch. So again, just to get some circulation and movement back in. Okay, so now we're going to come into our last pose of the session. So we're going to bring our bodies over to, if you have a mat, just over to the left side of your mat. If you just on the floor, that's fine, just as long as you're a nice straight line and you have some space to your right. So we're going to just bring both our feet over to the right side of our mat or the towel or whatever you're on the floor, so you've got a nice stretch on the outside of your left body. And then with the bottom staying in exactly the same place, we're going to move the head and then the shoulders over to the right as well. So what we're trying to get here is a nice stretch on the left side of your body. But the main thing is we're trying to make sure that your hips are level. So if you find you're lifting your hips a little bit, just bring your feet or your body back a little bit more in line with the pelvis. Again, it sometimes does take a little while to get comfortable in this position. So this is called Bananasana, for obvious reasons. So again, with your hands, you can just leave them by your side. Now, as this pose progresses, and obviously we're holding this pose a little bit longer, you might find that you can bring your left arm overhead. But the main thing is we're actually just resting your arm on the floor. So if you're finding your shoulders are sore, or you can't bring your hand onto the floor, you're just floating it, then I would probably just keep it by your side. Because what we're trying to do is just, again, relax the whole of the body. So again, the right arm exactly the same. So if you find you can't bring it over your head, just bring it by your side. But again, that is an option. If you can rest both your arms onto the floor above your head, that's a nice option to do. And again, if you're leaving this pose for a little bit longer, the other option is over time you might be able to cross your left foot over your right. So again, it's a slightly stronger stretch on the outside of your body. But again, that's an option you may want to explore after a minute or so. don't have to do it now. So this is a really energizing pose, which is really nice for any time of the day, to be honest. Also, it just allows you to really expand up into the ribs, so just really focus on just all those lovely muscles either side of the ribs, the intercostal muscles, just allow them to release, just allow the chest to expand more. Slowly, we're going to ease ourselves out of this one. So again, very slowly, if your arms are above the head, we're just going to just bring them down by the side. And then just very gently bring the shoulders and the head back in line with your bottom. And then just slowly bring in your legs. Again, so you're nicely in line. And again, you can just rock a little bit from side to side just to release. And then we're going to move the body over to the right side of your mat or your towel, or just stay where you are as long as you've got some space to your left side. So then we're going to just bring both our feet over to the left, so keeping your bottom in the same place, and then bring your head and your shoulders over to the left as well, so you've got a lovely stretch on the outside of your right leg, into the waist, up into the ribs. And again, starting off maybe with your arms by your side with the palms up. So again, having a play with this pose. It's quite a forgiving pose, I suppose. So this is just quite nice just to stay here. But again, as you're progressing into the 2 or 3 minutes, you can bring the arms above the head, but again, make sure that they are resting on the floor, so you're not having them up into the air, because again, you're going to put stress on your shoulders. But again, equally, if you've got issues with the shoulders, just keeping them down your side, palms up. And again, you can also bring the right foot to cross over the left if you wish. But again, that can maybe come not straight away, that could come maybe after about a minute or so. So just gently opening up the body. And again, just focus on if you're holding tension anywhere. Just really feel the support of the floor. And then very slowly, again, if you've got your arms above your head, just the legs back in line with the spine in the bottom, and just bringing the arms down if they're up. And just moving everything back in line. And again, just going to give ourselves a nice full body stretch. So push the heels away. If you can bring the arms above the head, that's fine, but I'm just going to stretch out the body. If you can't, just bring the arms above the head, just bring them by the side. So just stretching out, moving the hands away from the head. And then slowly we're going to get ready just to come into a gentle stillness. To corpse pose, Shavasana. Again, probably one of the most understated poses. Just allows everything just to integrate that we've done today. Again, you can stay here as long as you need to, so if you do want to pause the video, it's absolutely fine. But when you feel ready, just going to bend the knees. And again, if you want to, just bring in the knees into the chest. So the main thing is with any yoga practice, this is your practice. So again, just moving in a way that feels right. And if this feels okay, that's good. And then slowly, I'm just going to roll onto one side. So again, we're just taking it time coming up because we have been on the floor for quite some time. So again, you can stay here on the floor just for a few moments if you need to. But then very gently coming back up into a nice seated pose. So again, just nice and comfortable, and whichever way suits you. Just spend the last few moments of our practice just enjoying how that feels. And then gently bringing the hands into the heart center, into prayer pose, to Anjali Mudra. We're just going to lower the head. And just really give yourself that thanks for taking the time out of your day just to give yourself a little bit of nurture, self-care. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.